So for training in a different climate, you don't really get a chance to acclimate to it. You only get a chance to prepare. So that's what we're doing here. So for this run, I'm gonna have electrolytes. I just got whatever was price appropriate for me on Amazon. So I'm not doing a huge run. Let's do 2 scoops, 2 servings of electrolytes. Because I've been in the heat all week, you know, drying out, being in the sun, and I really enjoy having protein before I run as well. You know, get you a few calories, gets the energy up, but I find that for me personally, it just helps keep me with a settled stomach. You know, that's important with a run too. I like the flavor, I like the feel, you got energy. So yeah, and I've got my gallon as always, and that's what I'm gonna do for hydration. So the electrolytes do help with hydration. Obviously I don't have much liquid in this because I have the serving of protein, but if this is all you're gonna do for hydration, this much, you're probably gonna be behind anyway. So I use my gallon for my hydration, and this just helps keep everything going, helps keep me settled. And when you're training in the heat, you're obviously gonna sweat more. You may need to think about sunscreen depending on the type of complexion you have, or how much you've been in the sun, or where you were before you got in the sun. If it's the middle of winter where you live and you go to somewhere that's super sunny, you're probably gonna wanna put some sunscreen on your face or your arms or whatever. For me, that's not really an issue if I'm wearing a t-shirt, but I am gonna sweat a lot. So, you know, you also have wet clothing that will start to rub on areas. I get really bad right here where my sleeves start to get wet, and so you may need to have something to put on there. I have used Body Glide before, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, you know, if it's gonna be hot, you gotta prepare for it. So hydration, electrolytes, correct clothing, correct preparation for your body and your skin, and you know, general nutrition too. You gotta have the energy. The sun can drain you if you've not been out in a place that's super direct sunlight. At the end of the day, it's still running. So all you do is you make minor tweaks, you change this, you change that, and you keep going. So let's go. So my first tip for training in new weather, which for me is the heat this time, is your outfit, your clothing. So make sure you're dressed like you should be. Obviously I'm training in the heat, but I'm still wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It's not that drastic of a difference. But I did have to think a little bit about the material that I'm gonna use. As you run and heat up, you start to sweat. The more you sweat, the wetter your clothes get, the wetter they get, the heavier they get heavy, and they start to rub. And that could be any body part from any piece of clothing. So just think about that before you get started. Make sure you're wearing stuff that you have worn before, that you're used to, and you know what happens. Tip 2 is gonna be regards to nutrition. You may not need to change much, but if you're going to somewhere where you're going to sweat more, you're going to lose more water, you're going to lose more hydration, more electrolytes. If you're going to be in the heat, then you're going to need the electrolytes, you're going to need the hydration. So make sure you're on top of that beforehand. Don't wait until you've sweated it all out to start thinking about it. So what I did was, I've been drinking water a little extra, knowing I wanted to run on this trip. I also did 2 scoops of electrolytes when I would normally do 1, because I'm sweating like crazy. I'm only 1.1 miles in, and I'm already sweating more than I do after like 3 or 4 back at home. Tip number 3 is going to be adjusting your workouts. Now there's 2 things to this. Point number 1 is, if you're going to a hot environment that you're not used to being in, you might need to run less, or you might need to run slower,
Or you might need to break it up and take a rest or walk for a little bit in the middle of that run so you don't overdo it. Now, let's say you're traveling for a race. You don't get to adjust that. That's going to happen. So if that's the case, then you need to think about that in advance and maybe do some training. If you can travel. But if you can't, do some training that is overdoing it in your climate so that when you're in a climate that's harder on you, you're as prepared as you can be when you get there. So for me, I'm not here for a race. I'm here for a family vacation. So I did the big 12-mile speed workout at the end of last week so that I could come here and take days off, or I could just do my general aerobic threshold training, just building my weekly mile count and just slowly getting better, doing the easy, important stuff without having to overdo it. My races are not going to be in heat like this, but training in this certainly has benefit for me. So I want to do it. Also, don't want to take days off.
Hey, big boy.